In our previous episode, we introduced you to the space sector and what it does. In today's segment, we explore the important role that space plays in our everyday lives. Space technologies have become a part of our modern way of living, offering all sorts of benefits and paving the way for a more sustainable future. We often use space technologies every day without even realising it, whether it be to look at the weather forecast, use the GPS on our phones, or using satellite communication out in remote areas. Today, we'll talk about exactly how we use space technology and how they improve our lives. Welcome to episode 2 of Why Space Matters.
Welcome to episode 2 of our radio series with the Australian Space Agency. Today, we will be talking about why space matters. As part of our partnership with the Space Agency, some of the Tiba mob travelled to Adelaide in March to visit the agency headquarters. The agency's HQ is also home to the Australian Space Discovery Centre, which is a space education centre open to the public. One of the big takeaways from that visit was learning how we use space technology every day without realising it. Things such as satellite communications, GPS, and our ability to forecast the weather are all made possible by space technologies. Out in remote communities, satellite communication is very important as these communities don't get coverage from radio towers, and this is the only way for mob out there to connect and access the internet. Satellite communications also provide internet access in planes, boats, and other remote areas such as mines. GPS is another service provided by Space Technologies, and something we use on the daily if we're using maps to find our way somewhere and avoid traffic. These technologies also improve a range of other services that we use. Satellite communications and GPS make it easier to do online shopping. They allow you to transfer money instantly and securely. Satellite communication also allows us to watch live broadcasts of sports or other events. Even Tiba use satellites to broadcast our radio programs out to all you mob in the community. So we can see that we actually use space every day without even realising it. To learn more, I caught up with Nicholas from the Australian Space Agency to hear more about how space technologies are being used to provide benefits to people, businesses and industries. You're tuned in to Tiba Radio, your voice in the bush. And today we're here with Nicholas. So Nicholas, tell us a little bit about who you are and your journey to working with the Australian Space Agency.
Hey there, John. Yeah, thanks for having me on, and cheers to everyone for tuning in this morning. So I have grown up mostly in South Australia, yet my younger years I was in Darwin, so I was born down here around Port Augusta and Barangala country, and then moved up to live on the Larrakia Nation. So I was growing up until I was about 14 years old in rural Northern Territory, and it was awesome that found myself then coming back down to mid-north South Australia. I lived with my grandparents down here, went through high school, and there's things I carried through from growing up in Darwin, like was fortunate to do a lot of fishing and hunting and a bit of camping, and spend a lot of time out under the stars and looking at them and studying what's up there to see. And I remember the first time we started seeing satellites and going, really, is that what that, freaking yourself out thinking, what is it? So a lot of these things, now when you look up the space, they're far more regular, the spotting of a satellite, or I guess even before that, the challenge to even see the clear night skies. Like, I really miss seeing the Milky Way, and it's been such, the beautiful colours and such brilliant clarity that it comes through with. So when I started living down in South Australia, it was rural again, so the use of networks and things to have access to internet was really important.
Yep.
However, just by progression, moved to Adelaide and started working across a couple businesses in hospitality, and so then from knowing people in your community and them taking interest in who you are and what you're doing, that got me here at the agency. So to talk a bit about that, it's only been about 5 months now that I've been here, and those earlier exposures to space technology was in high school, so I was pretty keen about what was happening and seeing what was going on in Australia, but around the world was was where there's a lot of focus outside of Australia, I mean. And then, I kind of just put the science field behind me for a little while until, this opportunity has come up. So I haven't come from that kind of professional background of space. It's more, general knowledge and then speaking to people. I've got a background in business and hotel management down here in Adelaide, and then this has just allowed me to carry over and find a way to communicate with people and help share ideas. And what's been really pretty special is telling good stories about what we're doing in Australia and making it really relatable. Although I haven't got a real focused background of any nature in space, it's been really good to hear how something happens in a certain situation and then start working out, okay, maybe somebody else is involved and finding out information about those other people involved, and then all of a sudden I can inform the general public about, hey, look, here's something that's maybe not being made in Australia, but now Australians are helping lay the path to make some of these projects more successful.
We hear a lot about space, but it's usually about rockets or astronauts. But we actually use space a lot more than people realise.
Definitely that. So, like with that, you read about all this information, hopefully people, many of our friends from Top End can come down and check it out, and the Space Discovery Centre that is. And
So satellites really help us communicate, and they can help us in other ways as well.
Yeah, exactly. And I know that up in the Top End, we're aware of bushfires because we try and control it and use it to our benefit. However, I guess I didn't consider how much of it you are planning and communicating the whole way through. Like I remember them talking on the radio about, there's controlled burns happening here or there, and I just pictured it look on a map. But even 20 years ago, you could probably get satellite positioning and find out exactly where things are happening and make it a lot more accurate and a lot safer, so that you can guide things like a controlled fire away from places where people are living.
Yeah.
And then the next step of that is that the CSIRO doing research projects as well, and I totally forgot about all that. They can map out and locate certain things, like when they're looking at different mobs of ants and finding out the effect that they have or how they help after bushfires to carry on new seedlings.
So satellites are crucial to staying connected in remote areas. What type of things can space technology help us with, particularly for our mob and remote areas? Yeah, that's exactly right. So we've spoken a little bit on how we can use space technologies every day. Can you please expand a little bit more on the importance of space technology for everyday life? I know you've touched on it a little bit there,
Sure.
mentioning living out rural and, how different things are, like I'm pretty sure with the internet connections in town, we've got it's a cable, we got cables running everywhere, and that's how we get our internet. But, when we're to travel out rural or something, that's all Wi-Fi and it's all signal, isn't it?
Yeah, so the kind of really clever infrastructure and the service that TEBA's providing, that you've got various stations set up to receive a message.
Yep.
That would be in the hopes that each home would later on get dishes or being able to receive internet connection, because on like a daily use of internet, you could go from anywhere from using it for setting up your education. So with a school example, you want to have the connection to the internet so that students can either do research or you can meet with other people, other school groups, and then within your health structures, so either setting up for a health practice or even bigger things like a hospital, you'd want to have the connection that you can communicate to each other immediately, but then you have all these other things like databases of information, which it doesn't matter if you're from a different area or you're from a different community, that ideally when you have a database of information, that you can access that at any time and find out particularly things about people. And I think that's one big thing that we could see a greater use with this sharing of information and being able to have dishes to receive a connection from a satellite constellation, so a group of satellites, as we often call those a constellation, that then you can also do like a call out or kind of like the rooming, so what do you call it, roving community services. So I remember having dentists and things come out to see us up in Darwin, or other health checkups. They would have a kind of van that would come out and you could get a bit of a checkup, or they could share information to school groups with an internet connection. And this space technology, you can straight away log this information about each person, and then you can start sharing it to other locations, or maybe you've got information about somebody beforehand and it's on a database. This way we can check how they are across the previous information that we've got.
That was Nico from the Australian Space Agency talking to us about the importance of space to our everyday lives. As we can see, space technologies are being used by us every day, and they are also being used by First Nations people and communities to solve a variety of challenges. Target 17 of the National Agreement on Closing the Gap aims to increase digital inclusion levels of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people by 2026. It's been found that a lack of digital inclusion, in particular access to online support for health, housing, education, and other essential services, is a key barrier for First Nations people to be able to make informed decisions. The Commonwealth Government is exploring how satellite communications can be used to remove these barriers. This is something that is being explored by the Northern Territory Government as well, through their initiative called the Schools Connectivity Uplift Program. This initiative involves using satellite communications to improve internet and connectivity speeds in 58 remote schools across the Territory. The Commonwealth Scientific and Industrial Research Organisation, or CSIRO, are also using the power of space technology to help Indigenous rangers and land managers manage wild buffalo and cattle across the top end. This project involves attaching satellite GPS tracking tags to the animals' ears so that they can be tracked over a 22,000 square kilometre area, covering the Arafura swamp catchment in Arnhem Land in the Northern Territory, and Upper Normanby and Archer River on Cape York Peninsula in Queensland. Space technologies are seamlessly integrated into our modern world, providing countless benefits. Not only do we use space technologies every day, but the power of space technologies are also being harnessed to value add to other industries and being used by First Nations people to solve challenges in community and on country. But the power of space technologies are also being harnessed to value add to other industries and being used by First Nations people to solve challenges in community and on country. As always, if you want to find out more, we've included links to some of the resources on our social media. Thank you for joining us on this exploration of why space matters. In next week's segment, we'll take a deeper look at how space is solving problems on Earth and how space has the answers.